Now, we will see some experiments and models created by our very own ISC students. Also, you will be treated to some healthy delicacies.
To start with, let us see some physics laws in action, followed by some magic of chemistry.
Good morning. I am Atharva Purohit from class 11A, and today I am going to demonstrate a very interesting principle in physics which is called the Bernoulli's principle. It was named after Swiss mathematician Daniel Bernoulli. So what exactly is the Bernoulli's principle? In simple words, it states that when the speed of a fluid increases, its pressure decreases. Now I am sure that many of you are not very clear about what I just said. So I am going to perform a very simple experiment using just 2 table tennis balls. So let's get into it. So for the experiment, I have tied 2 table tennis balls and suspended them in midair. Now all I am going to do is blow air in middle of them. Now what do you think will happen? Will they move apart or will they hit each other? Well, let's see for ourselves. Oh, did you think the other way? The balls actually hit each other. Now this is because when I blew air, the air molecules in the middle got displaced so fast that it resulted in formation of a low pressure zone. And since air flows from high pressure to low pressure, the surrounding air molecules tried to rush in and made the balls actually hit each other. The whole idea of a streamlined shape is based on Bernoulli's principle. Also, in cricket, the bowler unknowingly uses this principle to add a swing to his ball. This principle is also applied in aircraft for achieving lift, because the airplane's wings are made in such a way that air flows faster over the top and slower underneath it. And since, according to Bernoulli's principle, fast-moving air equals low pressure and slow-moving air equals high pressure, the plane takes off. Thank you.
Hello everyone, today I am going to present an experiment on air pressure. Pressure exerted by air can be demonstrated by crushing cans. The first step in this experiment is to fill this large bowl with cold running water. The second step is to fill this empty can with 100 milliliters of water. Now heat the can with the help of tongs on medium-high flame until you see water vapors coming out of it. Now quickly dump this can into the water. This is how you can crush the can.
Hi today, we are going to see an experiment which demonstrates the surface tension in a liquid. This is a very interesting experiment and is simply a magic of science. This occurs due to the molecular attraction in the particles of the liquid. Take a thread loop of nearly 3 cm in diameter. Dip the circular frame in the soap solution that is made of water, soap and glycerine. Now place the loop that is made on the soap film. Note that the shape of the loop is not uniform. Now pierce it with a dry object like pencil. This has become circular in shape. From the explanation of the above two events, it can be said that when there was a film inside the loop, then in each point along the tangent of the surface, equal and opposite forces were active. As a result, in each point, these forces became balanced. So the loop is random. But when the loop is pierced, there is no inward force, only the outward force was active. so it experienced outward tension and consequently the loop became stretched and the shape was circular. From the above experiment, it is evident that one type of tension is active on the free surface of the liquid. This tension is nothing but surface tension. So, surface tension may be defined as follows. If a straight line is considered on the surface of a liquid, then on both sides of that line the tangential force per unit length that acts on the surface of the liquid is nothing but surface tension. Thank you.
Today, we'll be conducting an experiment wherein potassium permanganate reacts with glycerol. This reaction is often referred to as a chemical volcano. The chemicals needed would be potassium permanganate and glycerol. We would also need some sand, some water, a dropper, and a spatula. To begin the procedure, we take in some amount of potassium permanganate. To this, we add a few drops of glycerol. Now we will notice some steam and a few flames. We notice the steam we keep some sand ready to extinguish the fire. And there it is. We have two key observations during this experiment. First being the steam and the second being the flames. The conclusion of this experiment is that potassium permanganate reacts with organic compounds. And when it reacts with organic compounds, this reaction is often highly exothermic.
The chemical volcano was wonderful. Potassium permanganate is indeed a very strong oxidizing agent. The ongoing pandemic has led to us storing many such chemicals at home. So beware.
In a hot weather, we have the luxury to keep our AC on when at home. But can you imagine an AC going around with you to the sports ground?
I am Upasna Nandi of class 11A and I'll be explaining my project, which is a working model of a portable air cooler. In the construction of this model, I have used a plastic jar, part of a plastic bottle, a 9-volt battery, a cardboard lid with some perforations, a DC motor, a battery clip, a fan attached to the armature of the DC motor on the inside, and some ice which acts as a coolant. This machine combines two major principles, the first being the Lorentz force of the DC motor. This DC motor contains a coil placed within a magnetic field. When connected to the battery, current flows through the coil, as a result of which it experiences a force termed as the Lorentz force. This Lorentz force produces rotation in the coil, the armature, and the attached fan. The second principle used by this machine is that of convection heat transfer. The movement of the fan stirs up the air within the jar. Consequently, hot air rises and escapes through the perforations in the lid, while cold air emerges through the outlet. As the temperature time chart displayed shows, the machine produces a drop in temperature of 1.5 degrees Celsius in the course of an hour. This demonstrates that this model, when used for a prolonged period of time, can produce significant cooling. Thank you.
Good morning. Today I am going to perform the candle experiment. The aim of this experiment is to demonstrate gauge effect. Here I have a glass jar, candle and colored water in a pan. Now I'm going to place this glass jar over this candle. We can see a few bubbles over here and the water is slowly rising inside the glass jar. Now the level of water inside the glass is more than level of water outside and the candle has extinguished. Now this happens because at first when the candle was lit inside the jar, it heats up the air molecules inside the jar and they expand and escape from below the jar in the form of bubbles. Then when the candle extinguishes, the air inside the jar starts cooling down and it contracts, creating a low pressure inside the jar. This high pressure outside the jar in the atmosphere, hence this high pressure of atmosphere pushes down this water in the dish and forces it to move inside the jar until both high pressure and low pressure are at equilibrium. This experiment demonstrates Rayleigh-Sachs law.
Hello everyone, I am Riya Pandit from class 11A and today we will be performing an experiment titled salt crystallization.
For the experiment, we will require the following ingredients. Half cup Epsom salt, that is magnesium sulfate, MgSO4, half cup water, 1 jar and 1 spoon. Starting with the experiment, I have taken half a cup filled with water. Now, I'll heat this water for about a minute and then pour it into the jar. Next, I'll be adding half a cup Epsom salt into it and I'll stir it for 2 minutes. Epsom salt is sparingly soluble in water. When we heat the water and then add Epsom salt in it, a supersaturated solution is created which allows the salt to dissolve in water. But we can still see some crystals left, which proves that Epsom salt hasn't completely dissolved. Next, I'll be leaving the solution in the refrigerator for the water to evaporate. After about half an hour to 45 minutes, we can see the crystals. As the water evaporates from the solution, the magnesium and sulfate ions begin to bond together, first as single molecules and then the molecules bond together forming crystals. Every molecule will form the same shape crystal each time it bonds. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Atharva Purohit from class 11A and today I am going to demonstrate an experiment which will determine the effect of alcohol and temperature on cell permeability. The specimen which I am using today is beetroot. I have cut beetroot into small cube-like pieces and I have also washed those pieces so that there was no more colored water. I have also boiled one of the pieces to kill all the cells which I am going to use in the hot water glass. Now I have 4 glasses set up right here. The first one, glass A, is an alcohol solution. Glass B has water nearing its boiling point. Glass C has water kept in a freezing mixture. And glass D is water at room temperature, which is the control setup. Now I am going to put one piece of beetroot in each glass and leave it there for 20 minutes. Just like this. Let's see what happens. Now 20 minutes have elapsed and I have removed the beetroot pieces from these glasses. Now as you can see, we have different colors in each glass. Now the reason for using beetroot is because it has a colored pigment called beta-cyanin, which is a pretty big molecule by itself and it cannot escape the cell under normal conditions. But when the temperature is changed, it is now pretty evident what has happened. So why does this happen? Let's refer to the graph right here. Now it is pretty clear that as temperature increases, the amount of pigment leaked out also increases. Now if you see at the lower ranges of temperature from 0 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, only negligible amounts of beta-cyanin has been released. Now this is because as temperature increases, the kinetic energy of the cell also increases. Hence, the amount of pigment leaked increases gradually. If you go above that at around 100 degrees Celsius, the cell membrane here has disintegrated and the beta-cyanin has formed a saturated solution with the water. Now let's come to the alcohol glass over here. In this glass as well, we can see that there is a lot of color due to a lot of pigment leaked out. Now this is because alcohol is a non-polar solvent and non-polar solutes dissolve in non-polar solvents as lipids dissolve in alcohol. Hence, the cell membrane gets disrupted and gets dissolved in the alcohol. Hence, the beta cyanide leaks out. The result of this experiment helps us to better understand the function and structure of the cell membrane. Once we understand the factors that can affect the membrane's permeability, we are then able to better understand the movement of molecules into and out of the cell.
Membranes constitute the interface between the basic unit of life, a single cell, and the outside environment, and thus in many ways compromise the ultimate functional material.
The knowledge of cell membrane structure and its permeability helps us in manipulating the living membranes for practical purposes like drug history, production of biofuels, and biosensors.
Hey, have you heard of Lord Varun from Hindu mythology, who could control and direct all the water bodies in the universe?
Yes, what a pleasant fantasy to guide and direct water.
Let's see what happens when Lord Agni and Lord Varun come together.
I am Shruti S. and today we'll be exploring a fascinating phenomenon that takes place in our day-to-day life. We might have often observed that when water falls on a hot pan, the water slowly evaporates away. On further increasing the temperature, the droplets does not evaporate instantaneously. This is due to a layer of vapor formed in between the liquid and the hot pan, thus levitating the droplet and increasing its lifetime. This is the Leidenfrost effect, initially introduced by the German doctor Johann Gottlob Leidenfrost. Instead of taking a pan, if I take in a hot solid block which is inclined and has ridges on it, the droplet would have amazingly moved upwards, as the vapor forces the droplet to move up and over. Dr. Kei Takashina and a group of physics undergraduates used the temperature to precisely control the movements of water. And an unexpected turn of events took place. When the temperature of the block was over the Leidenfrost temperature, the droplets moved to its left. And when the temperature of the block was under the Leidenfrost temperature, the droplets moved to its right. Now finally, behold the Leidenfrost maze, whose temperature was controlled by Dr. Takashina and his team, making the droplets whirl its way into the center and finally evaporating. Thank you.
My name is Akshita Iyer and today I am going to perform an experiment based on the ancient water clock. So let's see. For this experiment, we will require a glass of water, 3 plastic cups, a marker and a sellotape. I have already applied sellotape on one of the cups and have marked a hole at the bottom of the other cup. Now I will be positioning the cups. The cup with the hole should be placed on the top of the other 2 cups. Now I'll also take my marker. I'll start pouring water. After each minute, I'll record the level of water on the other cup. As the water level starts decreasing, we should add water. I have carried on this experiment for roughly 5 minutes. Now I have emptied the glasses and again placed them in the same position. I'll add water. As the water touches each mark, you can notice that a minute has passed. So in this way, we can measure time using water.
Hello, today I will perform an acid-base experiment. The apparatus needed for the experiment is a balloon filled with sodium bicarbonate or baking soda, a plastic bottle with aqueous solution of acetic acid or vinegar. The sodium and bicarbonate ions of the sodium bicarbonate combine with the hydrogen ions of the acetic acid to produce two new chemicals, sodium acetate and carbonic acid. However, the carbonic acid formed is highly unstable and will decompose to produce water and carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide will actually bubble itself out of the solution in the form of a gas, which results in the blowing up of the balloon.
Greetings to one and all. Today, I will be speaking on my project, Combating the Effects of Vehicular Pollution on the Health of Traffic Police with the help of digital whistle. When US ex-President Barack Obama had visited India back in 2015, Bloomberg claimed that his life was reduced by 6 hours due to the intense pollution in Delhi at that time. A thought came into my mind. What will be the effect of traffic policemen who have their duties in intensely air-polluted areas for 7 to 8 hours every day? And hence, the journey of this project started. We began by analyzing the traffic and pollution indexes in Thane area, where we saw a disastrous escalation of harmful gases like SO2, NO2, RSPM, etc. We underwent a series of surveys with the traffic policemen, and we found out some interesting things. The policemen do have the pollution-repelling masks, but are not able to wear them often as they have to constantly blow their whistles to control and direct the raging traffic. This open exposure leads them to many diseases of ENT, lungs, and other types. According to me, it was of supreme importance that the policemen ought to wear the masks owing to both pollution and the corona pandemic, and blowing whistles should not come forth as a hindrance. Therefore, we came up with the idea of digital whistle, an innovative device made by us and one of its kind, which enabled the traffic policemen to operate the whistle not by their mouths, but by their hands. The traffic policeman just needs to press this button and an exact whistle-like sound will be produced and amplified through this speaker. After several surveys and tests, we got a lot of positive responses and some advices on its advancements, hence deeming the device to be successfully operational. The future prospects of the project includes its patenting and successful distribution so that the traffic police do not compromise on their health while on duty. No wonder it's aptly said that innovation can bring about the change that you desire to see in this world. Thank you.
The digital whistle enables traffic police who work for long hours in heavily polluted air to operate their whistles to direct people and wear masks at the same time, hence shielding them from the heavy pollution at traffic junctions. Now, over to some delicious superfoods from home science students.
Hello everyone, I am Srimira, a student in the 12th grade and also a home science student. Today, I'll be showing you how to prepare sundal, a traditional South Indian dish which is generally prepared during the monsoons. Sundal is also offered as prasad during the festival of Navratri. It is a very easy, quick and nutritious recipe. So let's see the ingredients that we need to prepare this recipe. Taking 2 cups of boiled chickpeas. Chickpeas are highly nutritious as they are very rich in proteins.
Grated coconut with chopped chili.
Coconut is highly rich in manganese, which is good for bone health.
2 teaspoons of urad dal. Salt according to taste. 2 teaspoons of mustard seeds and 2 tablespoons of coconut oil.
We'll start off by heating some coconut oil in a pan. Then we will add the mustard seeds to the hot oil, followed by the urad dal. You have to cook this until the urad dal is slightly brown. Then we'll add the boiled chickpeas, which also has turmeric in it. To prepare the chickpeas, you need to soak it at least for 8 hours or overnight and then boil it with some turmeric in it. Now, after adding the boiled chickpeas to this mixture, we let it cook until the excess water evaporates. During this process, you also need to season it with some salt. Let this cook for a few minutes. Now, we'll add the mixture of the grated coconut and the chilies and mix it until it's well combined. Then, you need to take it out in a serving bowl and garnish it with some fresh coriander leaves. And there you have it. Enjoy your hot serving of sundal.
Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn how to make nutritious breakfast. So today's recipe is multi-dal chila. Now we are going to use these ingredients. These 5 dals: yellow moong dal, green moong dal, urad dal, arhar dal and chana dal. We have to soak these overnight or for 3 to 4 hours and then mix it into a paste which will look just like this. Then we have to add the following ingredients: chopped tomatoes, chopped onions, some green chilies and ginger, a little bit of turmeric and red chili powder and some salt. After we mix it, we have to heat a pan on low flame and put 2 spoons of the batter and spread it out evenly. We have to apply oil to both the sides so that it gets cooked properly. After that, you can serve it with chutney and some ketchup.
Hello everyone. So here we are with this chila and this is how it looks. So the best way to start your day is with a healthy breakfast, and chila provides you all the needs for a healthy breakfast. It is a rich source of proteins, and it also provides you with better quality of proteins. It also provides you with 25 to 30% of your daily protein, and there are few vegetables mixed which gives you vitamins, minerals and a lot of roughage. Also there is a little amount of oil added to it which provides you with better satiety value. So now, as this name suggests, it's a multi-dal chila. So it's a little different from the usual chila, which makes it more tastier. So yeah, it is good for every age, and it is the most easiest and the tastiest dish for all the vegetarians. So yeah, happy eating.
Hi everyone, today we will be preparing masala oats. Now we all know that breakfast is the most important meal of our day because it provides with 1/4 of our daily protein and RDA requirement. Masala oats is an excellent way to start your day because it provides you with all the essential nutrients as well as roughage. It is a great way to start your day. To prepare masala oats, we'll first go on and add some ghee along with cumin seeds in a pan. After that, you'll add any vegetables of your liking along with some garlic. I am using tomatoes, onions and capsicums. Now you'll cover this for about 2 minutes until they are completely softened. After that, you can go on and add your rolled oats along with some water for the consistency to be perfect. And now you can go on and add salt, black pepper, turmeric powder, red chili powder, and you can cover this for 2 minutes again and you'll be good to go.
Hello everyone, as you all can see, this is the final outcome of the masala oats.
So what better than to start a day with a healthy breakfast? Oats are highly nutritious and they are also known to improve the blood sugar control. All the vegetables used in this dish are also highly nutritious. They range from vitamins, minerals, fibers, etc. The little oil used in this dish increases the satiety value, and since this dish is homemade, it is way more nutritious than the packed ones. This dish can be consumed by all the age groups. Since it's soft and easy to chew, other people can also consume it without facing any difficulty. So yeah, that was the dish, and happy eating. Thank you.
Greetings to one and all. I'll be talking about Panta Bhat, a very hassle-free dish which has more nutritional quality to offer than normal rice. Panta Bhat is traditionally served in breakfast with salt, onion and chilies. It's consumed in West Bengal, Assam and Bangladesh. It is made using 3 simple ingredients: water, rice and salt, which are easily available and found in all Indian households irrespective of the lockdown situation. Leftover rice from dinner was immersed in water in earthen pots and kept overnight to ferment. Presence of micronutrients like sodium, potassium, calcium and iron increase when cooked rice is fermented in water. There are around 10 trillion good bacteria in half a cup of fermented rice. This probiotic dish helps strengthening your body immunity and reduces iron deficiency. It also helps to cool your body during summers. So, please try this forgotten dish of the old bygone era and enjoy it.
There are some foods which cannot be consumed together. Ishan and Devanshi will brief us on the same.
Indigenous foods are a unique contribution from Ayurveda in order to prevent internal diseases and synergize action of drugs in the management of disorders. Some examples of antagonist foods are: first, Samyoga Viruddha, which is antagonism due to combination. Consumption of fruit, salad or milk and banana together causes this type of Samyoga Viruddha. Eating bananas with milk can damage Agni, produce toxins and may cause sinus congestion, cold, cough and allergies. Sanskar Viruddha is called antagonism due to processing. This is the second type of the Viruddha Ahara. This is caused due to the consumption of heated warm honey. According to Ayurveda, when cooked, honey becomes equivalent to glue. The molecules tend to adhere to mucous membranes in the digestive tract, further producing toxins.
The third example is of Virya Viruddha, antagonism due to potency, that is Ushna and Shita. Consumption of milk and fish together is termed as Virya Viruddha. According to Ayurveda, milk and fish are from 2 different diet styles and they both have completely opposite effects on our body. Since milk has a cooling effect and fish has a heating effect, their combination creates an imbalance that can lead to chemical changes in the body. The fourth example is of Krama Viruddha, sequential antagonism. Consumption of hot water after honey is termed as Krama Viruddha. According to Ayurveda, warm honey has the tendency to cause ama in the body, which is a kind of toxic substance. So Ayurveda terms the consumption of hot water after honey as toxic to the body. From the given examples, it can be understood that any procedure, combinations, dose, amount of food, opposite properties of food if consumed in a regular fashion can lead to a number of disorders like impotency, blindness, insanity, infertility and various skin disorders.